This is Trade Alive with IUX, where markets come alive and trading gets real. Let's go live.
This podcast is brought to you by IUX Trading Platform, elevating your trading experience.
The year was 2008. The global financial system was collapsing. Historic banks were going bankrupt. Millions of people were losing their homes, their jobs, and their life savings. It was a time of absolute panic. But amidst the chaos and the red numbers bleeding across Wall Street screens, one firm was quietly making a fortune. While the rest of the world was burning, this firm actually generated a nearly 10% profit. How? Because they didn't just survive the storm, they had built machines specifically designed to weather it. This machine is called Bridgewater Associates. Today, it is the largest hedge fund in the world, managing over $150 billion. Now, you might think the man behind this $150 billion empire is a financial wizard. You might think he has a crystal ball or that he possesses a genius-level ability to predict the future. But if you ask him, he will tell you the exact opposite. He famously says, "Whatever success I've had in life hasn't been because of anything I know. It's because I know how to deal with my own ignorance." He openly admits that he's just a guy who's made countless painful mistakes. His name is Ray Dalio, and his secret isn't a magical formula. His secret is his relationship with failure. Most people run away from their mistakes. Ray Dalio wrote them down, studied them, and turned them into cold, hard algorithms. He transformed his deepest pains into unbreakable principles. Welcome to Trader's Journey, a part of Trade Alive, brought to you by IUX Education. In this episode, we are going to explore the life of the ultimate architect of Wall Street. How did an arrogant kid who lost absolutely everything rise from the ashes to build the most powerful financial machine in history? This is the Master of Principles, Ray Dalio and the Art of Turning Mistakes into Systems. Let's begin the journey. If we go back to his childhood, Ray Dalio was not a born genius destined to change the world. He grew up in a middle-class family in New York. His father was a jazz musician, and his mother was a homemaker. Ray actually hated school. He was easily bored, disliked memorization, and was, by his own admission, a pretty terrible student. But his turning point came at the age of 12. During the 1960s, he took a job as a caddy at a local golf course. As it turned out, this specific golf course was a favorite hangout spot for wealthy Wall Street investors. The stock market was booming, and everyone on the golf course was talking about stocks. Young Ray, walking behind them and listening to every word, couldn't resist the temptation. He took his hard-earned caddy money and made his very first investment. He decided to buy shares in a company called Northeast Airlines. Do you know why he chose that specific company? He didn't analyze their financial statements. He didn't look at technical charts. He bought it simply because it was the only company whose stock price was under $5, which was all a 12-year-old could afford. The airline was actually struggling and on the verge of bankruptcy, but then a stroke of luck happened, which would later become his curse. The company was acquired, and the stock price tripled. Young Ray looked at his growing account and thought to himself, "Wow, making money in the stock market is so easy." And that right there was the seed of confidence that would eventually grow into a massive ego. As he grew older, Ray graduated from Harvard Business School and officially entered Wall Street. He was brilliant, truly brilliant, especially at analyzing agricultural and commodity markets. But his brilliance came with extreme arrogance. He was aggressive, outspoken, supremely confident, and refused to bow down to anyone. In fact, he has a legendary story on Wall Street. On New Year's Eve, he got into a heated argument with his boss, and he actually punched his boss in the face. The result, as you might guess, was immediate. He was fired. But a guy like Ray Dalio never gives up, and more importantly, he never thought he was wrong. In 1975, at just 26 years old after being fired, he decided to start his own firm. He set up his office right inside his two-bedroom apartment. He named this small company Bridgewater Associates. Ray began managing money with overflowing confidence. He was absolutely certain that he was smarter than everyone else in the market. He believed he could perfectly forecast the global economy and that no one could beat him. He was a young man who trusted his own intellect with all his heart. But little did he know, this sky-high confidence and ego were about to march him right to the edge of a cliff. He was preparing to face the most painful and expensive lesson of his entire life. Let's fast forward to the year 1982. Bridgewater Associates was growing, and Ray Dalio was feeling invincible. He was looking deeply into the global economic data and noticed something terrifying. American banks had lent massive amounts of money to emerging markets, particularly Mexico. Ray calculated that these countries would not be able to pay back their debts. He forecasted a massive global debt crisis. He was so confident in his analysis that he went on national television. On the famous show Wall Street Week, he looked into the camera and confidently declared that the U.S. economy was heading for a major depression. He didn't just talk, he acted. He positioned his clients' portfolios to profit from a massive market crash. He was ready to be the hero who saw the crisis coming. In August 1982, Mexico officially defaulted on its debt. Ray thought to himself, I am a genius. I was exactly right. But then, the market did something he never expected. To save the economy, the U.S. Federal Reserve aggressively cut interest rates and pumped money into the system. The stock market didn't crash. In fact, it exploded upward. The United States entered one of the greatest bull markets in its entire history. The market went straight up, and Ray was positioned entirely on the wrong side. Because he was so arrogant and so exposed to a market crash, the losses were catastrophic. He lost his clients' money. He lost his own money. Bridgewater was bleeding out. One by one, Ray had to call his employees into his office and fire them. He had to lay off his entire staff until there was literally no one left. Bridgewater went from a rising star to a one-man company, operating out of a quiet, empty apartment. Ray hit absolute rock bottom. He was completely broke. He had a wife and 2 young children to support. It got so bad that he had to do the most humiliating thing a proud man could do. He had to pick up the phone, call his father, and ask for a $4,000 loan just to pay his family's bills. He was crushed. His massive ego was completely shattered. Later in life, Ray Dalio would say that this was the most painful experience of his life, but also the best thing that ever happened to him. Why? Because the pain destroyed his arrogance. He realized that no matter how smart you are, the market is always smarter. His mindset shifted completely. He stopped asking the question, I know I'm right. Instead, he started asking the most important question of his life. How do I know I'm not wrong? He realized he needed a system. He needed rules. He needed to find the smartest people in the world who disagreed with him just to stress test his own ideas. The arrogant kid was dead. The master of principles was about to be born. After the devastation of 1982, Ray Dalio was a changed man. He didn't quit the financial industry, but he vowed never to let his emotions or his ego drive his decisions again. He started a new habit. Every time he made a mistake, lost money, or made a bad judgment, he wrote it down. He deeply analyzed why it happened, and then he wrote a rule to prevent it from happening ever again. He called these rules his principles. But he didn't stop there. He knew that human beings, even with good rules, are still emotional under pressure. So he took his principles and turned them into computer code. He fed centuries of historical economic data into computers, creating cold, emotionless algorithms to help him assess risk and make investment decisions. He also realized something profoundly important. His own brain was flawed. He needed other smart people to constantly challenge his ideas. So he built a company culture at Bridgewater called Radical Transparency. It was extreme. Every meeting was recorded. There was no behind-the-scenes gossip. Most shockingly, he demanded an idea meritocracy, a system where the best idea wins, regardless of who suggested it. In fact, there's a famous story where an entry-level employee sent an email directly to Ray Dalio, the billionaire CEO. The email read, "Hey Ray, you deserved a D- for your performance in that meeting today. You didn't prepare at all." In any other Wall Street firm, that kid would be fired immediately. Ray Dalio didn't fire him. He forwarded the email to the entire company and praised the employee for his brutal honesty. He wanted a machine that filtered out ego and found the absolute truth. With this new machine-like mindset, Seth set out to find what he called the holy grail of investing. He wanted to build an investment portfolio that didn't require anyone to predict the future, a portfolio that could survive and grow in any economic environment. He and his team developed the all-weather portfolio. They structured their investments to balance risk across 4 possible economic seasons: rising economic growth, falling economic growth, rising inflation, and falling inflation. By balancing risk instead of guessing direction, the portfolio became an unbreakable fortress. The ultimate test for this fortress came in 2008. The global financial system melted down during the subprime mortgage crisis. Other hedge funds were losing 30–40% or simply vanishing overnight. Panic ruled the world, but inside Bridgewater, the computers were calm. Their algorithms, based on hundreds of years of debt cycle history, had already detected the massive debt bubble forming. They didn't act on fear, they acted on their systems. When the dust settled at the end of 2008, while the rest of the world was in ruins, Ray Dalio's Bridgewater actually posted a return of nearly 10% positive profit. It was a victory that shook the financial world. The man who lost everything in 1982 had just built the largest, most resilient hedge fund on the planet. So how did he do it? How did a man who lost every single penny build the ultimate financial machine? Before we break down his rules, we have to look at the psychology of Ray Dalio. What separates Ray from the rest of the world is not a high IQ or a magical ability to forecast the future. It is entirely about how he handles ruin. When normal people lose everything in the market, they usually do one of 3 things. They blame the market, they blame bad luck, or they quit completely. But in 1982, Ray did the most painful thing a human being can do. He looked in the mirror and admitted, "I was wrong and I was arrogant." He realized that the human brain is deeply flawed. It is full of biases, fear, and greed. The greatest weakness any investor has is overconfidence. So he shifted his identity. He stopped being a trader who relied on gut feelings, and he became an architect who designed systems. He learned that to survive long-term, you must extract the decision-making process out of your emotional brain and put it into cold, verifiable rules. From this destroyed and rebuilt mindset, we can extract 3 vital lessons that you can apply to your own investing today. Lesson number 1, the ultimate equation. Ray Dalio lives by one simple formula: pain plus reflection equals progress. When you face a massive loss, your first instinct is to run away, close the screen, and try to forget the pain. Ray teaches us to do the exact opposite. Don't run. Sit with the pain. Be brutally honest with yourself and ask, why did this happen? Did I break my own rules? Did I size my position too large? Application: start a specialized trading journal. Don't just record your profit and loss. Record your emotional state and the exact reason you entered and exited the trade. When you analyze your mistakes and create a rule to prevent them, that is true progress. Lesson number 2: idea meritocracy and killing ego. At Bridgewater, the CEO doesn't dictate the rules, and it's not a democracy where everyone gets a vote. It is a system where the best data wins. For retail investors, this means fighting confirmation bias. We love to search for news that agrees with our positions. Ray Dalio forces us to change our core question. Stop asking, "I know I'm right." Start asking, "How do I know I'm not wrong?" Application: actively seek out intelligent people who disagree with your investment plan. Read the counterarguments. If your plan survives the stress test of opposing views, then it is a solid plan. Lesson number 3: thinking in systems. Ray Dalio does not believe in making spontaneous, day-to-day guesses about the market. Everything he does is an if-then algorithm. If inflation rises, then the portfolio shifts to these specific assets. Application: you need to write your own principles as if you were writing computer code. For example, if the price drops below this support level, then I will cut losses at 100% with zero excuses. If the price hasn't reached my target, then I will not sell early just because I feel scared. When you build a system, you remove fear and greed from the screen. You just execute the code. In the end, Ray Dalio is not a wizard with a crystal ball. He doesn't possess a magical superpower to predict the future. He is simply a man who failed spectacularly. He is a man who lost every single penny on Wall Street. But what made him a global legend was one absolute decision. He refused to make the same mistake twice. He took his deepest pain, stripped away his ego, and built a machine out of his failures. He proved that the financial markets will eventually break anyone who trades with arrogance. But if you trade with humility, and if you build a system based on truth, you can weather any storm. So, before you take your next trade, take a step back. Look at your portfolio. Look at your past losses. Do not view them as failures. View them as the most valuable data you will ever own. Write down your mistakes. Extract the lessons. Start building your own set of principles. Because in the world of investing, pain is inevitable. But progress is a choice. Now, I have a question for you. What is the most painful investing mistake you've ever made, and what specific principle did you learn from it? Share your stories with us in the comments below. We'd love to read them and learn from each other. Also, if you want to dive deeper into building your own trading systems, mastering risk management, or exploring more investment strategies, be sure to visit the IUX website. We have a massive library of articles and educational content waiting for you to level up your skills. Thank you for joining us on this journey of radical truth. This has been Trader's Journey, a part of Trade Alive, brought to you by IUX Education. Remember, your ego is your greatest enemy, and your principles are your ultimate weapon. Until next time, stay disciplined and goodbye.
You've been listening to Trade Alive with IUX. Ready to put these insights into action? IUX is here to power your next winning trade.